We're going to prepare a piece of paper for a drawing or a painting. You don't always have to do this if you're doing a drawing. What I'm about to show you, you don't always have to do this. But if you're going to paint on it or you're going to use watercolor or ink, this is a good way to prepare your paper. Typically, it's called stretching. A lot of times, stretching paper is for watercolor, and a lot of times you just use water to stretch the paper. But in this case, we're going to use gesso. This is a plain piece of drawing paper, and we're basically going to make it thicker, stronger, and flatter in preparation for doing a ink drawing on it. But you can use this if you're painting on it or drawing on it or whatever. What you're going to need is some tape. Some kind of painter's tape is good. I've got some frog tape. I've got this Scotch blue, and then this clean release. Doesn't matter what kind you use, just needs to be some kind of painter's tape that releases easily. So I'm going to set these aside, don't need those. I'm going to use this one. I've got a piece of drawing paper, like I was saying, and then I've got a solid, strong substrate, something that I can set aside, and after I've got my paper on here, I can set it aside and let it dry and still use my desk. I'm not taping it to my desk. I've also got, just in case, I've got some a wet cloth here that I can clean up any mess I might make. And I'll have over here a big bucket of gesso. Gesso is a special kind of paint that is basically just for preparing surfaces like what I'm doing here. It's used on canvas a lot and so on. And then I've also got a nice big chip brush. This is a pretty cheap brush. It leaves brush strokes, so if you want a nice smooth texture, you need a different kind of brush than this, but this brush will get the job done for what I'm doing here. All right, so I want to take this tape and I'm going to put it on here on the edges, half on and half off of the paper. Okay, so I'm taping the paper down to the substrate, to the drawing board right here. I want to make sure that tape is down real good on the inside with my thumb. Then I'm going to do the same thing all the way around it. Half on the paper, half off the paper. I don't know if you can see this in the video very well, but the actual edge of the paper is right there, halfway inside the tape, right there, underneath the tape. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Down here I've got it a lot thicker. Down here it's a little bit thinner. You don't have to do it perfect. I don't think you do anyway. One thing this is going to do is it's going to create a border. The border is just kind of an extra little perk. What I'm really doing is, again, like I said, preparing this thing for an ink drawing. And there we go. Now again, I want to make sure that this thing's down. I'm taking my thumbnail and running it all the way along the edge on the inside of that tape. I don't want any paint leaking up under there. In this particular case, it's not bad if it does. It's white paint on white paper, white gesso on white paper. So, but it's just a good habit to run your thumbnail along your tape, make sure it does right. All right, so I've got some gesso here, and I'm just going to paint it on all the way onto the tape. What this is doing is sealing the paper. The paper is really porous, and as you can see, it's wrinkling up. And since I'm doing a pen and ink drawing, that ink will really wet the paper down and make it all crinkle if I don't seal it first. And so basically I'm sealing this paper. This same technique of gessoing can be used for anything. A friend of mine gave me some old cabinet doors one time, kitchen cabinet doors, and I painted all of those with gesso and then painted on them like they were canvas. So anything you want to paint on, you can use this gesso. It's like a primer, so that you can paint on any surface. You don't have to go out and buy expensive canvas. Just get a bucket of primer and a bucket of gesso and paint everything. If this paper had been used for another project and I didn't want to waste it, you know, maybe that project didn't turn out so good or some kid left it behind, then I could reclaim that paper by gessoing over it. All right. Now, as you can see, the paper's all real wrinkly. I'm going to let this dry, and when it's done drying, it will have like stretched itself back out. It would flatten back out, and it'll be almost completely flat. All right. Got to set aside, let it dry. Thanks for watching.